Let's go straight to your Rotus Oddiri. Yeah, Rotus, how are you?
Everyone. Good
Morning.
to see you. Good morning.
to see you, Rotus.
Good morning, all our viewers. Oil, big news, falling. 3-month low on the news that OPEC surprisingly is going to add output back to the market. So Brent crude 71.05. West Texas 67.96. Look at Nigeria's benchmark. This is impacting every oil producer because you need, depending on what your benchmark is, you need oil prices to be higher. So Nigeria's benchmark must be, or rather, Brent crude must be much higher than the benchmark in order for Nigeria to fund her infrastructure. So, for Saudi Arabia as well, we're going to get to Aramco in just a moment. So OPEC announced yesterday that they are indeed going to add barrels of oil back to the market. They've been cutting about 2.2 million barrels for a few years now, voluntarily. 138,000 will be added in April, first addition since 2022. They are wary of geopolitical tensions. It's very odd as to why they did this, because of the impact. If you're adding more barrels to the market, you're adding more supply, which means prices will fall. And you saw prices reacting to that. Let's get to Saudi Aramco now, which is, of course, their statement. Let me put that statement out. This is very, very important. This gradual increase may be paused or reversed subject to market conditions. This flexibility will allow the group to continue to support oil market stability. The statement that they put out, again, quite odd because OPEC needs prices to be high. Some believe it is because Trump is putting pressure on them. We took his speech in Davos. He wants oil prices lower. Also, there may be a backstop because of Iran. We talked about Iran's finance minister getting fired yesterday by parliament. Iran's oil supplies have been hampered by sanctions from the U.S. So maybe they want to make up for that shortfall. Who knows? But it doesn't help OPEC, Nigeria, or any oil producer for OPEC to be adding more barrels. Because the reason why OPEC took off barrels from the market was to support prices, reduce supply, and increase them. Aramco just announced their earnings this morning. So it fell across the board because oil prices were lower in 2024. This is full year 2024. Revenue, 436 billion, down. Operating income, 206 billion, down. Pre-tax income, 208 billion, down. Net income, 106 billion, down by about 12.3%. Their dividend, which was at the height of when Russia invaded Ukraine, about $125 billion, I think, fiscal year 2022. That's been cut down to $85.4 billion. Again, oil prices are low. They see oil demand being higher in 2025. Not sure, what maybe they're just being very, very optimistic. But again, going back to the whole, Saudi Arabia and Russia are the two key players in OPEC Plus. So lower oil prices impact Saudi Aramco because they sell oil and they're the chief provider of dividends to the Saudi kingdom, which uses that money to diversify its economy. Arise News was in Riyadh for the Future Investment Summit. We saw what's going on in Saudi Arabia. Rufai was there, myself, and so on and so forth. But they need these. So for them to no-toe to Trump to reduce oil price actually hurts them. Also hurts Russia's ability to continue to fund its war. All right, so speaking of war, the tariff, or rather trade war is likely looming already. You've had President Trump saying that the 25% tariffs will effectively, they've actually gone into effect pretty much. So 25% on Canada. I think we've got the list already. 10% additional on China. This is on top of already another 10%. So that's 20% hitting China now. March 12th, you got the 25% on steel and aluminum. April 2nd, 25% on the EU, autos, chips, pharmaceuticals. And then April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs on agriculture. I hear he's also looking at lumber. He's looking at everything. Canada has responded. I think we have Melanie Joly, who is the Foreign Affairs Minister for Canada. Here's what she said. This was yesterday before this came into effect.
Let's be clear. If Trump is imposing tariffs, we're ready. We are ready with $155 billion worth of tariffs, and we're ready with the first tranche of tariffs, which is $30 billion, which is already known.
Mr. Trump has said publicly just now 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico. No, quote, no room left for Mexico or Canada. They're all set. They go into effect tomorrow. Is Canada just stuck bracing for impact at this point, Minister?
So we are ready. And of course, I'll have a conversation with the Prime Minister when he lands because he's coming from London. And I'm going into a cabinet room right now to talk with my colleagues about the Canada-U.S. relation.
Justin Trudeau has responded, pretty much saying the same thing he said the last time. We're not going to allow these unjustified actions to go through. Canada will not let this unjustified decision go unanswered. Our tariffs will remain in place until the U.S. trade action is withdrawn. So pretty much trade war has begun, right? They did announce that it's 25% on 20.6 billion of U.S. goods, another round of 82.4 billion in about 3 weeks. So you're looking at over 100 billion that China does. Also, China, 15% U.S. exports from March the 10th, 10% levy on soybeans, beef, and fruits. This will hurt U.S. agriculture. Make no mistake about it, because U.S. farmers are subsidized. And this happened back in 2017, where Trump had to give them a bailout when he had the last trade war with China. They said they'll file a complaint with WTO, and they are placing some U.S. firms on an unreliable entity list, which is like a retaliation of those chip curbs and so on that the U.S. has put on them. Finally, Nigeria, we've talked about investing. With everything that's going on, you want to put your money in different securities that can give you a return. The federal government savings bond window is open from Monday until Friday. Talk to your broker. Check the list on the Debt Management Office. A 2-year bond going for 16.63%, the 3-year 17.35%. You see those coupon dates at the bottom there. If you invest, you get 4 payments a year. You can then reinvest each of those coupons in additional bonds that come out, and so you have continued cash flow through the year. Please invest. It's a turbulent time right now. Stocks, bonds, U.S. foreign securities. That's our updates for today.
Prof, go ahead.
I want people to notice the position of Nigeria and the OPEC matters. I think clearly it's a good thing for manufacturers if the prices go down, and that is the intention of Trump. We as a country need to look at our position in there. 3 questions for Nigeria. Number 1 is production level. Are we even achieving what is allowed, and are we able to achieve more? Number 2 is the government expenditure. We are benchmarking against $75. How does it affect us if it goes down? Then the third one is, we as consumers, what are we to expect? I say this because when we reason in matters of political economy, there are some bad teachers who simplify. These matters are never that easy, never that simple when we look at it. And when we juxtapose our position in the equation of the global market, we can see nuances that should keep us thinking.
All right, nuances. You know, we raised this up earlier in the year as part of economic projections, especially for budget financing, and how Nigeria pegged it at 75 and Trump coming into power. We're seeing that play out now. It looks like OPEC is now capitulating, as it were, to Trump's demands that if not, they're going to receive sanctions. And the man is not joking about the sanctions. You can see even from Canada's response and other countries who are saying they're going to retaliate, but they have said they're going to produce more. It means that oil prices would reduce, and that in terms of, for us as a nation, more than ever, this conversation around diversification is apt. But I don't think, or I don't know if we're ready. But in terms of our quota, our OPEC quota, this administration is saying that they've shored up production, which is actually true. So it's, at least they are progressively doing that, and they're looking at 2.5, even if possible. But let's see to what extent that would help.
You know, let the games begin.
Indeed.
The tariff games, the tariff war, let it start. At a time where inflation is already trending forward in America, Trump goes ahead to increase tariff. That will be inflationary. Let's see how he will be able to cope with the American people already going against him. Approval rating 48%. They don't like the way he's handling inflation.
Markets are down.
Markets are down.
Yep.
It was a tailspin for the markets yesterday.
Yeah.
A disaster day. So let's see who will bulge in all of this.
Yeah.
I'm happy. You should bring it on. See, we can all go mad together.
Together.
I like it. I'm happy. Let's see what will happen. He's not fixed the problem of eggs and all of that.
He hasn't.
So don't worry. Those Turkish eggs, we'll see at what rate they'll come into America. When they are ×2 of the price, we'll see it. Like James Carville saying, leave him alone. 30 days, he'll screw himself over. And I like this guy. I love Trump. He's screwing himself over big time. Like he says, big league.
Yeah.
See what he's done. Pulse armament supplies
to
Ukraine. Removed cyber security
on Russia.
Yeah. You know, he's screwing himself over. Now tariffs. I love him.
Chaos.
Love him.
Chaos everywhere.
Love him.
He's addressing Congress today. He's addressing Congress, so we'll hear what he has to say. Yeah.
All right, we gotta go.